So you're recording?
I am.
I heard you say.
I'm recording.
I have a cold, and so unfortunately this ear is like clogged up. So it's not you, it's me. Just verifying. Thank you.
Well, I mean, this is just
Absolutely.
okay.
That's absolutely
No problem. Yeah.
It's all good.
Alrighty. So as we indicated in our email, there
Are we
was.
gonna go around and introduce
Yeah. Oh yes, thank you. Sorry.
You can start.
I'm Christy Roth. We've met before.
Nikki Logan, we had at 790 together.
Rose Francis, we're in 378 together.
And-
778.
I know, right? Numbers.
Yeah.
And Sydney Bueno, we had 704 together.
And then the three of us teach in like the School of Ed, specifically usually special education classes.
And I'm Dr. Hernolds, so department chair.
Yeah, assistant dean.
Yes.
Okay.
For into my second day. It's only my second day of it. Thank you.
Oh, the website was updated a couple of days ago. Then.
Oh well. Okay. Anyway.
We're ready for her.
And both titles are right.
Shoot, and it's been recorded. Okay, and
All right. So thanks for meeting with us. We have kind of two general areas that we want to talk with you about. One of them is related to the dispositions that are outlined in our professional education program. There are four in particular that we have identified as areas that we'd like to work with you on developing a growth plan for, and hear your input on those. Then the other one is related to an academic misconduct concern or question that we have related to some practicum log sheets and practicum
Evaluation
log sheets
form.
and evaluation
Yeah.
form. Thank you. So I think the bulk of the discussion items are related to some related in the dispositions are related to just a very little bit from this summer course, but then mostly related to some email exchanges and coursework in 778 and 790. Would you say that's accurate? Okay, good. So I think what I'll do is just share mine first, and mine won't be a surprise to you because actually I emailed you about it right away and you responded really well. I do want to preface all of this with the fact that as a group collectively, as we've reviewed your work, it is really clear that you want to do well and you're driven and you do an excellent job staying in touch with instructors, asking questions when you have them, and trying to improve your work. And you have definitely shown competency in the content area is what the feedback that I'm getting from your instructors. So I want to be sure that you understand that that's something we recognize and value that you bring to the program. The one that I just documented was that email exchange that you shared with me and that Dr. Emerson shared with me this summer when there was some frustration over his not working with you to solve problems, and you called it a Mr. Miyagi thing. Do you remember that?
Right.
Yeah, and so then I emailed you back and just kind of pointed out that this wasn't a professional way of addressing the concern, and that learning to reword those emails and not reacting. Actually, I encouraged you in the email to, when you are feeling frustration, to take a few moments and maybe write the email but don't send it, and then delete it, and then reword it in a way that you're sure that you're presenting yourself professionally. My sense was that you received that suggestion quite well from me this summer, and however there's been some subsequent email exchanges that have shown some of the similar behaviors, and so I think maybe we'll go there next if that's okay.
I didn't know if Rita was starting to talk. Or
Oh yeah, did you have something you wanted to share?
If that's all you want to say about
That's
it.
all I was going to say about that part of the email exchange. Would you like to hear the other stuff related to professionalism in emails and then respond? Or
That's fine.
Yes? Okay. All right.
I think in terms of for Education 790, I don't remember any type of contentious or necessarily unprofessional emails. I think what comes to mind is a fair amount of emails. So probably like 2 or 3 emails within a really short time period where some of the questions you were asked were addressed in a video or well, a video and the syllabus and the assignment description. But again, if you're asking for clarification, I understand. So it was a little atypical that a student would send off so many quick emails, asking questions and then answering their own questions and then giving me work. And so if that was the only situation, or if that's the only thing that happened via emails in the course, I wouldn't have been concerned or bringing it up. But in conjunction with what other emails that I've heard or written about, obviously without your perspective, that's why I bring it up. So other than that, there haven't been any like very reactive or like emails where I felt like you weren't professional.
In 778, on, I'll say the right date, on the December 28th, because the course was opened for all of you that were registered by that time on December 21st. No one had any expectation that you had to open the course early. So that said, you emailed me on the 28th and said that you were struggling with PTSD and you would like a partner switch. After thinking about that a while, I responded the next morning. I didn't want to respond without being thoughtful about the whole parameters of what the course entails and what the expectations are. And I truly, even then, was thinking about the dispositions in the School of Ed. That's one of your first assignments in this class, but I was trying to marry what your request was with what my expectations were. And I responded that I appreciated you sharing the challenge, but then I enumerated reasons why the partners need to say the same. First, because collaboration and collegiality is one of the goals of the School of Ed in the dispositions, and collaboration is one huge piece of this course about home, agency, and school communication. So I didn't want to take out the only partner project in the whole course. And I already knew by that point that there were a number of partners that were already interacting because a number of them had made some contact with me. And that just, there were enough scattered throughout the, 14 students that it really would have been almost impossible to do that. I didn't share that part of the detail, but that was why. And I then referred you to the DATC and asked that you contact them. Then within like 28 minutes, you sent me 4 emails in a row. Your first one said that that you can contact DATC, and then you said, so will I get an extension? The way it's worded was not what I would typically see from a student. It was worded almost as a demand. But your next email, no, that was, yeah, okay. I'm gonna make sure I get the right one. You then did email Andy Howe, and then you copied me, and then you emailed me again and said, and I quote, "I guess we will see what the DATC says about this case. Until then, can you please take me off the list with that person as my partner?" Then the next parts I really had problem with, because I'm quoting, "I worked with that guy this summer in class and it was not pleasant. I do not want to go through the same thing again. This is a 4-week class that is going to be difficult, and you are attempting to make it more difficult for me." I found that offensive and unprofessional, to put it bluntly. You requested a partner change based on one premise, and now the next day you're giving me different reasons that appear to be the underlying issue. And again, the goal of the class, one of the goals of the class is collaboration and collegiality. And as you've just been doing in Module 1, we've been working on a lot of things related to anti-bias. And all of those the red flags were flying with all of this, because this was a chance for you in a very small way to work on those kinds of issues, instead of trying not to work through with a partner on one assignment. I had trouble with that. And then you said that you're sharing it, you didn't need to share the information. Instead, I am to see if you are understanding. That wouldn't really typify whether I'm understanding or not.
Can you restate that? I don't know if I
It's
followed
worded,
that.
it's worded strangely.
Okay.
It's worded, it's okay sentence, but it's just phrased weird. "I do not have to share any of this information with you. Instead, I am to see if you are understanding."
Okay.
There. That, but like, as Dr. Legman was saying, you sent 4 emails to me within a half hour. You contacted someone, I don't know who it was, and you said, "After speaking with someone in DATC business, it appears that I'll be granted all sorts of accommodations." Okay, I'm well aware of accommodations. I've taught in the special ed field for decades, but we have a process to go through on campus that you document, and you're asked for that. And from communicating with Andy Held, he's asked you for that that confirmation and documentation, and apparently you have not responded to him. So there still is no documentation of PTSD by a professional. So there's all kinds of little pieces flying in this that are troublesome.
And now to reiterate that we, as a program, as a school, university, make whatever accommodations the Disability Assistive Technology Center
Absolutely. Done it many times.
tell us to, or recommend that we do, or provide to us in their paperwork that they send out.
So if, for example, you had registered with DATC before summer, when you started the summer cohort, then that would have been on file, and I would have gotten a notification before the course even started. And I would not have made the pairing I did, that was completely random, by the way. I would have taken pains to make sure that that didn't happen if you had a documented PTSD. But without that, you're asking for something that would have been difficult to manage at the point that you were asking it. And I, quite honestly, was offended by the way you asked or demanded.
And to rephrase it in your head a little bit, read it, an alternative way to address a concern working with a student who you've had difficulty working with, which I don't want any of us are saying, none of us are saying that everyone's easy to work with. Like, I definitely have had students in my classes that other people don't want to work with them. However, the way that it's generally managed, a professional way to manage that is for the student preferably to call. In a situation like that, talking on the phone is far more beneficial than sending an email. Secondarily, if they do send an email to say, here are the specific behaviors that I struggled with when I was working with this partner, meaning timeliness with work, a need to consistently correct their work, lack of work performance that impeded their ability to learn and feel successful on an assignment. Those are all really valid reasons to try and outline that you'd like an alternate partner. Instead, the message that came across was, I don't want this partner because I have a history of people with a Southeast Asian descent and it's going to impact my ability to work with them. That's the message. It's not what you said, it's just the message that could be interpreted from what you said. And I think our goal is to help you to learn how to better reframe that. And if there is truly, if there's truly an element of your history that impacts your ability to have successful interactions with people of Southeast Asian descent, then I think it's fantastic that you recognize that, and we need to put a plan in place to fix it. Because that's a bias that needs addressing, because so many of your students as a teacher are going to be of Southeast Asian descent. Their parents will be as well, especially if you stay in this area. And so generating a plan to help address that is a better way to go about it. Do you want to take a moment to respond, or would you like us to continue?
I can respond now if
Okay.
that's what you want.
Sure.
I work with Southeast Asians with that demographic currently at the moment. I have no problem with that. It's just with schoolwork.
Are you currently employed?
I am.
Out of curiosity, where do you work?
Can I keep that confidential, please?
Okay.
May I keep that confidential, please?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Okay.
Can I ask if it's with a school district?
Going to keep that confidential as well.
Sure.
I just don't know if I'm being attacked or not.
Oh, of course. Oh, okay. I
Um,
understand.
So Joe said some stuff to me this summer. We got over it. We had lunch with the whole crew over at Noodles and Company. We sat across from each other. We had a conversation. But still, he said some stuff to me this summer. Other students, I guess we're not there yet. But, so I don't believe that was a demand. It was just easier with the comments referring to the paraphrased one, asking instead, I don't feel comfortable working with this person. For everyone, just looking at game theory, win-win situation would be I took the partner, everyone gets their benefits, and lose-lose. Nobody gets the partner, I win, you lose, but there's a win-win-win. That's how the way I saw it. Harassing by him, just on like Facebook, looking at Facebook. I don't look at Facebook that frequently, and then all of a sudden I get this post from Joe. It should be more professional on an email instead of Facebook. Facebook is professional, but you don't need to advertise it to everyone. But I'm your partner.
That's a personal bias you probably have about that, because I can tell you, if you didn't look at Facebook, the rest of us there were other people who put that out there in terms of their partners and that they had contacted them. He was not the only one at all who did that.
And that's the closed group we're talking about?
Yeah.
This is a group that's just seen
Yeah, it's a
by-
closed Facebook group.
Yeah, so it's not to the world, it's
Nope.
just for the
Very-
cohort.
Yes,
Okay.
just for the cohort.
But I felt it was harassing. You could have contacted me other ways, which you did, and you can only contact me one way. That's fine. You don't have to go all around the neighborhood knocking on doors for me.
Can I ask what was on the Facebook post?
It was just Joe saying that, Reed, I'm your partner. Essentially, I probably got it here, but
What felt harassing to you when what he said on Facebook?
It's just mentioning me, and I mean, other ways that he've contacted me.
So
like
the
if you-
fact that he said on Facebook that he was your partner?
was-
this is it.
Busy.
This is what it said.
Okay, so.
I mean, it's not what he said. It's just continually asking for me.
Did he do it post more than one time?
No, he did not.
He
Not
just,
until Saturday. This past Saturday. This was on the 28th that he posted it, and then again this past Saturday, he put something out. But that was asking if anyone knew if Reed looked at Facebook. Because Joe had attempted to, and I have that documentation, had attempted to interact with Reed a number of times. And I guess we can go there eventually about that partner assignment and how that all ended up. But let's focus on how you approach this whole topic first. Because the Facebook post was on the 28th also. You then went on to the course D12. I assume to verify that he was your partner. Because I've got the, D12 shows me the times that people log in. And you emailed me within a half hour of that Facebook post was out, that first email. And I just have difficulty with that timeline. And again, if you had problems, if you genuinely have PTSD, that's something the university, DATC, needs to know and work on your behalf for. And barring that, contacting the professor and talking about your chain of experiences with that student, I have made accommodations for other students who had difficulties working with someone in a different class that clearly delineated what had happened. I could verify it with the professor, and we moved forward and things got changed. But you didn't.
Okay, I have responded to the email that the DHC sent to me after he responded to me. DATC, saying that I'm too busy this winter to submit all those documents and go to the appropriate medical support staff and get that information for him. So I don't know.
Okay, that
I can show you that email.
it was on the second that
He didn't respond to
that
me.
Andy and I exchanged those emails where he asked me for information and he hadn't heard from you.
What date did you let DATC know that you wouldn't be able to go in?
The second
The
or
second.
the third.
Okay.
I mean, I can look.
Sure. Oh, you don't need to look, it's fine. I'm
Okay.
just curious.
It would have been after the workday on the second,
Okay.
because of when Andy emailed me late in the day.
Mhm.
That would have been the end of his workday.
Sure.
Minor.
At your previous institution, did you work with the disability services?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
The doctor just prescribed me whatever
Mm-hmm.
and then went on.
And you didn't need any type of accommodations in your courses to
No.
facilitate, to help your success based on
No.
your disability? Okay.
At the tech, I was quite well off, better off than the other students, and then at the different universities I attended, they no problem.
Okay. And so what do you attribute in terms of some of the things we've been describing to your specific disability? I know that you've alluded to tying it to your disability in some emails, which is why I'm asking the question. If you're not comfortable answering, that's fine. But we're just trying to get a determination of what types of accommodations you may feel like you need based on your disability.
Just the partner. That's it.
Meaning that you feel like it had nothing to do with a racial background. It had to do with the fact that this partner had said things to you in the past that makes you feel attacked, and subsequently you didn't want to work with them.
It felt like the same thing that was happening overseas while I was working, while he was working with me. Just uncomfortableness. But right along those lines is just academically producing an adequate quality education for myself.
Right.
But if I work with these people, it's no problem.
So I guess that's what I'm trying to delineate it when you say these people or the types of things that they do that cause those triggers. What is the type of a student or coworker or collaborator or partner that would trigger some of the responses that make you uncomfortable?
The behaviors in the past while working overseas would just be how they communicated with you. I'm trying to think of an example. So working in Southeast Asia, they would ask me how to say something, and then they would repeat it in a specific way. And then later on, they would just be saying that, asking me again, how do you say it? And then, of course, later on, they would say it wrong, and then it would be irritating to you, and then that would be irritating to you.
So it has to do with how someone pronounces things. So it
Along
did
those
have
lines.
to do with Joe's, what do you call it? How does he talk? What is the word for that?
Is that his accent?
His accent?
I think that was.
Joe's accent, or so a Southeast Asian accent might be a trigger for you. Is that what you're saying?
I was watching him on the Google Doc in live time, real time, changing my sentences, and it didn't make any sense at all.
Okay. So I'm hearing two different things. One thing was I was hearing what we would consider to be not proper English. And then the other thing I'm hearing is a concern over when you're collaborating with someone who is making changes to your work that doesn't then represent good work. Is
I'm
that
connecting
correct?
the two, that his English was
Okay.
poor, and it was the same kind of concept as working overseas.
And then it was
While working on
impacting-
curriculums for preschool and kindergartner, the teacher aides would come in and change the whole day up, and introduce a different book, something like that. But it would still have the same concepts, but you can't teach that the ball is bouncing, the verbs for the day, with what they're trying to give you for materials when you've already planned it out and you've seen the materials in the room. They take something like this.
Okay. So if we were to take those two areas of concern, one of them is working with someone who has difficulty with English, and then also working with someone who may impact your final work product because of their lack of mastery of English. What kind of accommodation do you think could help you with that?
Like changing partners being one, but what else? Or
Yeah, I mean, is
just
it, 'cause-
anything?
Right, I mean, if
Anything
it,
goes? Okay.
I just am trying to generalize this outside of this one situation. So if we
Okay.
look at, okay, you're going to have collaborations with people, and even students who don't have proper English for a long time as a teacher. So we're just trying to figure out ways that we can help you figure out strategies to accommodate that struggle. Like generally for me, since it's not a trigger for me when I work with someone who struggles with English, then I will just ask them to rework it, and then I don't make it my responsibility. If I'm working with someone who's doing a work product that I don't agree with, and I have to then turn that into an outside person to review, then I will turn in my work product to the outside person, and I will say, I'm sorry, but I was unable to do this work with this person. I'll say it ahead of time because their work product is more work for me to correct than it would be for me to generate and turn in, right?
Right.
I have a student who just actually turned in a really big project for me, and English is not her first language. And I was spending so much time correcting her grammar that I just sent it back and I said, hey, there's this cool tool called Grammarly, install it in your computer, use it, and then correct the grammar and then send it back. But I didn't let it rile me up, and so what we're trying to figure out is what kind of strategies can we help you learn to manage those situations when they come up.
Oh, first of all, I was just introduced to Grammarly a couple of days ago with Dr. A in the class.
Yeah.
I never knew about it. I've seen all the commercials on YouTube, whatever, but and then all the students in the room, I use Grammarly because it's so great. I downloaded it in class.
Yeah.
But that's why I left. So I think would be a good way to tackle this would be more instructors involved. So maybe if the instructor is having difficulty understanding what I'm trying to say, other aids like that, but not, like in the school, such as a paraeducator right there with me, because this is a hybrid class. But, if other teachers want to collaborate just like this, I think that would produce better quality education all around.
So let's paint a scenario. Let's say that you're teaching in a class and you have a student whose English is their second language, and they continually are turning in work to you that has improper English. Do you feel that would be a trigger for you in that type of scenario? That you would get frustrated and not want to work with them?
I'm collaborating them at work, with work.
No, if they're one of your students.
Oh, one of my students?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course I wouldn't have any problems with that.
Okay.
I've worked with all sorts of students that
So if
English
you feel
isn't-
like when you're in a role where it's your job to be the helper, that is your job as the teacher to be the helper, then it doesn't trigger you, like when it's a job where you're a collaborator. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Would you say that's a good summary?
I collaborate fine with them outside of academics. Yeah, I work fine with them.
So what is it that in the academic realm that causes the trigger then? Is it the stress of not having work turned in well, or?
You could say that. Otherwise, just working together is uncomfortable for me. I mean, it's a trigger. Some things that they do. It's just a cultural thing.
But I guess my question is, why is that a trigger for you in a class in academics, but not a trigger for you as a coworker?
Just absorbing the knowledge and integrating the knowledge to decode it and then uncoding it later. There's some interaction there that disrupts it, it feels like. But like I said in the emails, I'm getting over it. It's been about 2.5 years now. So, I mean, it was much worse. But now I work with them every day, lift them up, carry them around.
Do you have a level of understanding of how some of the statements that you have made in some of these emails, like this one here that you sent me yesterday, where you said, I have had instructors in the past that have dumped this type of behavior on me. It seems like this program is to test us on new difficulties and life adversities. So it's another one that it just comes across very accusatory and aggressive. And do you have a level of understanding of that and how that comes across in some of these emails that you're sending?
As an instructor, I would feel uncomfortable with that, of course. And I would ask more questions in detail on why they think that. If I was the instructor.
No, I'm asking you, do you see as yourself that this is these statements you're making are accusatory and aggressive?
I do feel like the emails sound like they are accusatory, and I would definitely have to change the way I word the emails moving forward.
Do you notice, because it seems like I'm identifying a pattern between summer, between the winter, and then now I've had instructors in the past that have dumped this type of behavior on me. So for me, I feel like I'm identifying a pattern, and I'm wondering if you see this pattern as well, because here it seems like it's the instructors that are the ones that you feel have the issue, because you're saying they dump the behavior on you. So you said you recognize that these seem aggressive and maybe not professional. Have you realized that it's a pattern?
I shouldn't
and
say so.
perhaps the pattern doesn't lie with the instructors? like the behavior and the problem doesn't lie with the instructors.
I worded that terrible.
But I mean,
dumping
but it's a
behavior.
pattern,
Okay, there's
not
a
just
pattern.
this one. Do you see it being a pattern? Because you took responsibility and you said, yeah, I probably should have reworded it. But do you see it more than just in this instance being something like within yourself, or still something outside of yourself?
Most likely myself.
And I don't know, I don't know a lot of these situations, so I'm just trying to learn and understand and see where your thinking is.
I think that one of the things that I had to learn as a professional growing up is that when I was younger, I had a hard time accepting blame when I was frustrated or mad or didn't do something right. And that's the pattern that I see. The pattern that I have seen is, yes, you've been in some difficult situations. I don't want you to feel like we're invalidating that. The summer was a very difficult situation, and I can understand why you would have frustrations with that. I need to validate that for you. But the reactionary response is not going to lead to success in a professional world. So blaming others and reacting are the two things that I think that we want to help you work on the most. And the first step to working on that is hearing a little bit of what you just said, which was, yeah, I own this. I need to improve it. It's something I need to work on.
Can I wonder, and maybe we can continue this conversation, but through the means of 778 and the assignment, was your assignment, did students need to meet up or talk on the phone, or could it all be done online? And tell me if anyone wanted to go somewhere else, or you wanted to say anything before we...
No, I think it is good now to segue. I feel like we've talked healthfully about the email part. I do think that Rose would like to share a little bit about the outcome from this assignment.
The outcome, I don't feel you were successful with the outcome, because what happened was, as you said, you converted the Word doc to a Google Doc, so you could both add to it. No problem. A lot of people did that. So that because it was a DPI e-course, parts of it, and in places I asked the students to put their initials after their entries so I could track who did what, and other places I put the words "discuss with your partner" repeatedly. And discuss, in my mind, and maybe I need to be more careful, is a conversation. Whether it's via Skype or FaceTime or telephone, I made the assumption that partners were going to interact verbally so they could exchange ideas, not just write things and then put something else down for the next response. So what happened, to the best of my knowledge, is that there was some collaboration on the Google Doc, and then Reed just took it upon himself to submit it without the other partner having completed parts of it, and without any kind of discussion or interaction beyond virtual interaction on a Google Doc.
We collaborate on the Google Doc by typing to each other.
That's what I just said, but you didn't discuss. There was no talking. There was no, when the words in the assignment say discuss, perhaps it's my wording. I thought the word discuss would say you need to have conversation. And this is not a conversation that I would typify as discuss. Because there's no exchange of ideas and no, oh, you had that idea, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, I see what you mean. Maybe we can put this down as our collaborative response, which is what all the other group pairs seem to do. Because I graded all of them this morning except for your partnership. I've read yours, but The others seem to have a genuine blending of thinking and ideas, where they each took ownership of certain pieces where it was appropriate, and then there was the, oh, this is idea, and then they literally would jump off of something else and put, oh, that was Gorgon's example, but now here's my personal example, and we were intrigued by how different those examples were. That's an example of some of this response I got from students, where there was obvious interaction and discussion.
I provided my example, he provided his example, and
What discussion happened?
then we collaborated on the examples,
What discussion happened?
typing to each other.
Do you consider that discussion?
I do.
With
Did you
anyone?
type to each other on the chat? Like, was
No,
it-
just in the Google Doc, like I mentioned earlier, live chat.
So was it, no, when you were in the Google Doc, when you said live chat, because there are two ways to chat, right? You can do, well, three. You can be typing on the Google Doc.
That's what we were doing.
Okay, so not using the chat button.
We were editing
They were
real
just-
time.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I know, the reason I'm asking is that if they did use the chat
They
button,
did
that
not.
would have gone away
They did
and
not.
you wouldn't see it, so.
They did not. They did not. They were
So,
simply typing what they each chose to type on the document.
and so it's your perception in your mind that that is collaboration and discussion.
It is.
Okay.
And then another part of what I heard you say, I think, was that you probably expected groups to come to a decision, this is our final product, we're happy with it, let's turn it in, and maybe that didn't happen with this partnership.
That is correct.
It was submitted by Reed and his partner didn't know, or?
That is correct. That is what happened.
I let him know when I was going to submit it. He let me know when he was going to submit it. We both
There was
proofread
only
it.
to be one submission. So I'm gonna shake my head. There was to be one submission for the partnership for everyone in the class, one per partner. And I believe that your partner would dispute that you let him know you were gonna post it.
He might dispute it, but it was written on there.
On where?
The Google Doc.
If he didn't have the Google Doc open, how would he know? If he hadn't opened it in a day, how would he have known that you were gonna submit it? Again, you weren't
What was
communicating.
written on there?
Just when I was going to submit it.
So you wrote, I'm gonna submit this at?
If you don't have anything else to say, I'm going to submit it. He asked for me to wait until 9:30 for
Okay.
him to edit it. I waited for a while, but I submitted it
So that's in
before
writing,
9:30.
But he said,
Because it's in
That's
writing,
not
it's
in writing.
responsible. How do you
Well, I
know
mean,
if
it
they-
was
I
in
don't
writing,
know.
but we deleted it before we
So we
downloaded
could go
it.
back and check the Google Doc, though.
Right,
We can
if-
find that
We
conversation.
can go back and we can hit,
We can look at
history.
all the-
We can
Yeah.
look at all the edits.
Oh.
Mhm.
yes.
But I downloaded it onto what?
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
And we can
Yeah, we
still,
can still do it.
we can
Because I
still
tried
find
doing that too, and I couldn't do it. Hitting the undo
Show you how
button.
to do that, it's pretty easy.
Okay.
But
Because that's how we did a lot of my PhD program, is this conversation, like you're saying, and it is very useful. But I can,
Anything you type on that Google
Anything you
Doc,
type
we
can
can
be-
go back and
Mhm.
see. So we can check that.
And the point, you also submitted it a couple of days prior to the due date. So I'm not sure, I don't care when it was submitted. There were other partnerships that submitted early, and that's fine. Everything in that class can be. But by doing that without getting tacit approval of your partner was not collaborating. You made an independent decision to submit that, and your partner had a reaction that created a fair amount of extra work and time for me, because then I had to deal with what am I going to do with your partner who doesn't feel he was allowed to add his piece, your partner who readily said, no, we did not talk or discuss, it was all on the Google Doc, and it's very forthcoming. So then I'm in a position I have to decide what to do from there, both with yours and with his, because it didn't really meet the intent of the assignment. And I have to decide whether or not my word discuss is appropriate.
but everyone else follow through on what you were expecting?
Correct. It's obvious from the submission.
Well,
with obviously we communicate as students to each other. It's not what I heard among other students.
Can you say that again? I didn't hear you.
All this we talk. Students talk, obviously, but that's not what it's not what most of the groups had said had happened. They did less collaboration than what Joe and I did, so I don't know why this is such a big issue.
The big issue started with you asking for a different partner.
Why that?
And the way in which you asked. So let's ground it on that. I would probably never have known about all this other stuff necessarily if I hadn't already known that other piece. Your partner, though, reached out to me.
I mean, I'm not a
and said that things
tattletale
were-
or anything, but why would I take all the blame for this?
I think you need to take ownership of the emails you sent.
Okay.
Can I ask too, we started out with emails and professionalism, and you haven't shared about 704. Any positives or comments? In
I
terms
didn't
of
have any
communication?
emails. I think all of the.
Or no, sorry, was it 704?
Yeah, 704. Oh, 704. Yeah, I think my only concerns, I was only really concerned about the second part of the discussion, which
Okay.
will be yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we have some good notes here. I would like it to move us, just for the sake of
Yeah.
time, onto the concern about the practicum documents. I'm gonna let you summarize it.
Yeah, so maybe I'll go back to, at the beginning of the semester, it was a requirement of the course in the School of Education that, each student in the quick program get 30 hours of practicum experience working under the supervision and with a special education teacher practicing like special education. And then for Dr. Bueno's class, it's 15 hours, and that's just how it's divided by course. So posted to D2L is the assignment description. I also posted a video like explaining it. We also wanted to credit individuals for whatever time they put in whatever position they are in a special education classroom or working with kids with IEPs. So we made the allowance for the quick students and said if you're an educational assistant or paraprofessional or teacher's aide or a teacher on emergency license, then you can take what you're doing and half of it can be those hours. So that would be 27.5, right? If that's, what is it? No,
It was
27.5.
22.5.
Thank you.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you, yes. Off the top of my head, it didn't come. So we said, we want to value that because we know what you're doing to some extent. So you really had to get 22.5 hours under the supervision of a special education teacher working with kids with IEPs. So I also posted to Canvas, I don't know if I said D12 before, but we were in Canvas, what we call a practicum protocol, so some sort of expectations, and then I also posted the dispositions like outline and process and the framework. So after the semester got started a little bit, I emailed each student and I did a check-in, like how are you doing with your hours? How do you have this set up? Do you need anything from me to make sure, because every student's in a different situation, which is awesome, but it's also hard to make generalizations to the group of do this or don't do that, so I wanted to connect with each student individually. And when I connected with you, it sounded like you were like, I got it under control, no problem, like I figured it out. And then a little, which was awesome, I responded, sounds great, let me know if you need anything, from here on out. So after that, you emailed, I think myself and Dr. Bueno, maybe sometimes separately and sometimes together, we were able to get it on the emails and said, this is my situation, my supervising teacher, I'm not sure exactly what word you use, is making me come in early to get these hours. Can you call her and tell her I don't need to come in early? And I said, well, it's not my position to call or tell that person whether you need to come in early or not. I said, if that person is questioning how you get your hours, because we're okay with you getting them on the job while you're being paid. And I know some maybe supervising teachers or cooperating teachers that's new to, or they haven't heard that before, but this is a different group of students. So I said, if you want me to write up an email, or I think that's mostly what I said. If you want me to put it in an email, if you want me to write it out, the parameters and what you're allowed to do or not allowed to do, then I'm more than happy to do that. And you can forward it to that person so that they can read it, and so that they can then interpret it and say, oh yeah, he doesn't need to come in early, or yes, he still needs to come in early. So after that, I think, did you, Dr. Bueno, receive an email from one of the teachers saying that she wished to retract her hours?
I did, but that was closer to the end of the semester.
Okay. So, it looks like just after the emails that you and I had exchanged about talking to your supervisor or your cooperating teacher, you emailed me a picture of your hours log and said, is this okay, does that count? Which again is another positive step in communicating. And I said, yeah, looks good, just make sure that you have the number of hours that you need, because in the one you sent me, you didn't have the required number of hours, but that was okay because it wasn't due yet. So then the semester continued on, and I think that's when,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
pretty
then
close to that
Jenny emailed me and said that she had signed for hours, that she actually was not with Reed, and she didn't. Let's see what she says. She said, well, first she was concerned about her signing practicum hours for Reed while he was on the work clock. I feel Reed was not forthcoming in explaining the practicum guidelines to me. I'd like to retract my signatures on the practicum times. And then I emailed her back and said, oh no, Reed did not misinterpret. Here is, exactly what we told him, and I pulled what, you emailed him right out. Anytime there's a special ed teacher in the room, even if you're getting paid, it counts as observation hours. And then Jenny emailed me back and said, well, that wasn't explained to me, and I was not always working with Reed or in the classroom for the hours that I signed for. And then same with Jeannie.
I feel good that you responded and you were supporting and validating what Reed was saying, that I can be on the work clock, and he reiterated that.
Yeah, because that's
what
I didn't want to be. I wanted her to know that we told him what we told him exactly, and it didn't matter whether it was on the clock or not. But then, yeah, Jeannie also said that she. All right. I forget the emails print from the bottom up. So she emailed me that she was informed by Jenny that Reed needed to be off the clock when he was doing his practicum hours. And so then I emailed her back and I gave her the exact same email. No, Reed was not incorrect. This is what we told him. And so as long as he was as long as he was observing or participating under special ed teacher supervision, the hours would count. And then she emailed me back and said, thank you for clearing up the confusion. He didn't really come and talk to me about this, and didn't ask in advance if we would be the teacher to observe him. So sometimes I was in the classroom working with other students and did not know that I was supposed to be observing him. And so she says, I did sign the practicum hours because I was in the classroom some of the times watching how he interacted with students. And so I just told her, well, thank you for clarifying that, and I'll just bring it up.
What date?
Jenny emailed to me on 12/6, and Jeannie also emailed me on, oh no, that's me emailing them back. Jenny emailed me on, oh no, it was 12/6.
Okay.
And Jenny emailed me on 12/6, yeah.
So I stated what my interaction with Reed was regarding practicum already. So Reed then turned in a practicum evaluation form to Canvas on December 13th. It was due on December 23rd. So just to provide that information. And I saw it and I commented on Canvas that I asked him who signed the practicum evaluation form, and usually Reed responds pretty soon after we post a comment or send an email, and I didn't hear from him. And then he emailed me asking about an assignment and sort of resubmitting assignment or asking for me to look at an assignment again that he posted to Canvas originally when I was going into the Google Docs to grade it. And I said, we can address that because it would have meant a higher grade for Reed in the course. I said, but almost the more pressing issue at this very moment is who signed the practicum form. So, who filled it out and signed it? So Reed got back to me via email and said that Jeannie Verhagen signed the form. I asked for her contact information in another email. He sent me the contact information. I emailed Jeannie. It wasn't the right email. I said, can you check that email again? So he checked it. He got back to me with the correct one. I emailed Jeannie a copy of the practicum evaluation form and said, can you verify for me whether you filled this in and signed it? And Jeannie responded that she did not fill it in and she did not sign it. So she did not fill it out, she said, nor did she sign it. So I, at that point, asked Dr. Bueno, and she returned in the same form for her, which is, students are allowed to turn in the same form for me as they are for her. And then I responded to Jeannie, thank you for your quick reply. And then I took a look at, actually I didn't take a look at all of the signatures in the practicum log. What happened is as we were setting up the meeting, Jenny Borchert emailed and said that due to the dishonesty and fabricated documents from Reed, she doesn't want her name attached to the practicum hours. She feels upset she was taken advantage of, and so she did not want her hours to be logged, just like she had emailed Dr. Bueno. So that also said that you were short practicum hours. So that's sort of very related, but two different things, the log and the evaluation form. And then I also received an email from Jeannie saying that you were asking for her to sign off on the hours or additional hours because you were short from Jenny's hours. And she said when you asked her to sign off on them, the hours were changed. So the hours that you turned into Canvas had, for example, a total time of 0.5 hours on November 20th. And then when you gave the copy back to her to sign, she noticed that you had changed it from 0.5 hours total time on November 20th. For example, there's more than just one. That it's now 1.5 hours, and she said that she did not add that time and she did not approve that time. And then she also said it's very evident that instead of 1:55 to 2:30, which is what you had on your submission to Canvas and what was originally written and signed off on, that you changed it from 12:55 to 2:30, and that's nothing that she did or approved, that was something you did and that you approved as well. So she also reiterated, I called and talked to Jenny on the phone and she reiterated what she said on the email. She tried to call me and then she sent an email, so I called her back. So she reiterated on the phone the same day on Monday yesterday, like that she does not want to sign off on the hours, and that the situation is unethical and dishonest. And then when I talked to Jeannie on the phone, because I also wanted to connect make contact with her, just from like a special ed coordinator standpoint, being able to develop a good relationship and talk through some of these situations and acknowledge their concerns. I called her and she reiterated again, she did not fill out the practicum evaluation form, she did not sign it, and that she feels you were not forthcoming with the requirements, and that you added hours without her approval and without her knowledge to the practicum time log. So that's where we are talking about the university policy of misconduct, handing it in and you emailing me and telling me that Jeannie filled it out and she signed it, and that you're saying, here, my signature below verifies that this log is a complete and accurate statement of the hours spent at this practicum site, so that you're signing off on these are the hours that the teacher signed off on and approved, when the teachers are saying that this is not the case.
Where do you want me to begin?
Wherever you feel appropriate.
Okay. Well, I mostly worked with Beth. I'm not sure if you talked to her.
She didn't email me, so I didn't reach out to her.
And she hated the idea of the practicum. She went out of her way to make things the most difficult with the practicum. And
In what way?
she kept asking questions, saying that it's uncomfortable for her to sign these papers when I gave her all the information she could possibly want about it. I CC'd her in on some of the emails. She got the same responses I did, and she still felt uncomfortable doing the practicum. And so she made me come in early when I was working very long days with the after-school program and working the day as the paraeducator. An hour early, and I only did that 3 days because I had enough of that. And then she would just watch me do the work that I was getting paid for during the day. And Beth was unsure of the process. I told her what needed to be done. She said that it doesn't sound right. I assured her, and she made me do volunteer work for the hours. After I explained the process to the other speds, they said, just fill it out and I will sign. But Janine filled out the sheet and signed. That's a quick overview of that. So for the extra hours that I put on there, the 15-minute intervals, while the teachers are in there, a half hour, because sometimes the special ed teachers will come in and help out for a bit when they're not busy, 5 minutes or a half hour, an hour. Will just be extra support in the room. It's kind of hard to document all those 15-minute increments.
I don't see where you put any 15-minute increments.
Exactly, that's why I put it on there is the hours for the week.
I don't see hours for a week. It says 9:21, 9:27.
For the day, for the other day, like the day before.
So it says 9:21 is the date, and we have it very clear how we want it. You start time through end time, that's the column heading, 12 p.m. to 2:30. So that's you telling us you were in there on September 21st from 2 p.m. to 2:30. Then we have total time. You have 2.5 hours, which makes sense, and then Jeannie's signature. So I'm not understanding where on here you have 15 minutes or where on here you indicated, because it's not written out where we asked for it in weekly time. So where you indicated it's in weekly time versus a 1 day.
She could have been in there in the morning, and then later on in the morning, and then later on, like coming in and out, and then documenting each one of those times throughout the day. Would have been difficult on those sheets, especially keeping track of it. So I just put it on there as an hour or 2 hours for that day.
So you have incorrect start time and end times then.
She could have been in there during that time.
But this is your record of when she was in there, not when she could have been in there. Like, this is your record of.
For the
You're
best of my
telling
knowledge, that
us-
is the best record.
This is like a time clock. So what you're saying is when she walked in, it would have been noon. When she walked out, it would have been 2:30. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
Then-
I was hearing you say that you were describing that the teacher came and went throughout the day, and
Throughout
so
the day
you
as
just
well.
summarized a length of time that you thought would be the length of time that you were observing her while she was in there.
Some of those might be accurate for that description.
And so did she sign these or you signed these?
She signed those. I did no forging.
She does not claim that she signed your evaluation form. She said she didn't sign that.
I told her if I did a good job, please circle these and sign at the bottom.
She's told me in multiple emails she did not circle it, she did not fill it out, she did not sign it, and she also told me on the phone that she did not circle it, fill it out, or sign it.
I mean, this could be one of their things that they've been doing the runaround on me the entire time. I don't know what to say.
Have you seen the signature, Reed?
have.
I looked at, so I see about 150 practicum evaluation forms every semester. I am in no way some investigator or handwriting expert. I definitely don't claim to be. But as I look at them, there are some that come across as red flags to me. So when I see that and her signature, or what is her signature on this form, looks incredibly similar to yours, that's like the first level of, is this the person's signature? And then the second level, when I say, is this your signature? And the person says no, that's another level of, the person knows whether they sign it or not. And it sounds like there's other things going on within that setting. But those are
Janine
things-
was the only one that really liked me.
Is it Jeannie?
Jenny? No, not Jenny. Jenny smoked.
Jeannie?
Janine. Jeannie V.
Jeannie Verhagen.
Verhagen.
It's Jeannie Verhagen.
Jeannie there.
And Burkhart.
Orchard.
Smelly. But,
Okay, so you
Beth-
were saying still that Jeannie circled the numbers, she signed it.
She wrote in with the spelling errors the information.
I thought I gave her a copy. I gave everybody a copy of everything that they did. Did they not mention that?
No, we're saying that this is what you submitted, but they have seen this. Jeannie has seen this, and she said she did not fill it out or sign it.
Is this your handwriting? Is this your handwriting?
That is my handwriting.
Down here?
That is.
Why? Why would,
To make it easier
for the guidance and feedback for the practicum student, this is feedback from your, why would you write that in there? I'm curious.
Those are the things that she had mentioned about me. And how just making it easier for her. Like the practicum hours. I'm not gonna make them fill that out.
Well, part of what they agreed to do, just to not that they have to fill it out, but if they're agreeing to be your supervising teacher or your cooperating teacher, then they agree to the whole job, that they're gonna fill it out and they're gonna sort of guide you, and that's just a part of being a cooperating teacher. And if they weren't comfortable with that, then they shouldn't have been your cooperating teacher. And maybe that's a different, an ideal world that wasn't, the one that you were in.
We had Jeannie before as CT, or this gal here.
I do not believe so. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I think she went here for her master's as well.
I meant,
She was nice.
Is she been?
I don't believe she's.
Okay, never mind.
And I probably shouldn't say yes or no because I
Okay.
don't have them all memorized.
So, I'm not sure. Okay.
Will you tell us then, take a look at the signature, jog your memory on if that is her signature?
To be honest with you, I believe she respected me and that, if I needed extra hours, that she made her signature look like I could copy her signature, but I never did that. That is not.
Reed, did she sign that paper or not? Yes or no? Please just tell us the answer.
She signed the paper.
She signed it.
So you're saying she's lying to us?
She's lying.
Why would I lie?
Why was she?
I don't know. Because she doesn't like me now for some
No,
reason.
That's crazy.
Well, the other teachers are doing it there.
Oh, Linda.
I'm sorry, you're being called
I
out.
have another. Oh, I'm worried about that.
Yep,
Thank you.
Okay, so is there anything else you want to say about the evidence that we presented to you?
With that,
Related to the falsification of documentation.
I gave them a copy of everything.
Okay.
Did
So-
they not mention that?
Yes, you did, but I guess
we just wanted to give you an opportunity if there's anything else you wanted to share related to this topic.
I changed the time to look at it, then she signed it for the ones with the added time. Look, going back
You changed the
and she had time to look at it.
times.
So the copies she gave us that were her copies were copies that she signed before you changed it. The ones you submitted had the changes after her signature. Her copies that she signed did not have the change times.
And the IEP, the reason why that was asked late is because it was so close to the date. What's the problem?
No,
Oh, I
I
think it's
think
just
you were
we're changing-
changing topic and
We were
I
just
lost
shifting
track.
with you. We were
Alright, that was
understanding that
trouble.
we're changing topic.
And the IEP, so I thought I deserved the grade because I didn't submit it appropriately. And then I went back and saw that the grade was so close to the B. That's why I asked you to reevaluate it.
And so in response to that, I let students know, I believe via the assignment description, the Canvas announcement, and a video that I was going to download their documents from the Google Drive, so do not put them in Canvas, and then I would grade them from there. So I downloaded grades from the Google Drive. After the due date, I wasn't gonna go through and write on there because they had their partner and them were on the same one, and I wasn't gonna give feedback and scores where someone else could see it. So I downloaded it, scored it, and I did not know that Reed's final submission was to Canvas.
After I downloaded it, I saw the comments on the side. I couldn't see the comments on the Gmail
Okay.
document, so then I readjusted it on the document, not on the Gmail one.
Your partner comments?
The partner
I
comments.
see. So, what
There was a lot of
told
comments.
Reed in response to him at the end of the semester, after the deadline where I said, look at your grades, let me know if you have questions. So he responded after the deadline I gave them, which I understand. I've been working with students through deadlines this whole semester. I said, please go through the IEP. Let me know where you should get points back. Like what changes you made on the one that I graded and the one that you submitted to Canvas. And I'll definitely take a look at it and I will regrade it. And so I didn't hear back from you about that. And that's sort of where the ball
Because
landed in your report.
Felt I made a mistake because I couldn't see the comments, and then when I tried to submit it, that's the first time I saw those comments. I thought she wasn't even looking at my IEP. I just saw a few like yellow marks. I was like, what is this? And then I downloaded it and I see the comments on the side, like, whoa, she wrote a lot.
Right, and I was just saying that I was more than willing to take a look at it again, and that I asked you to take a look at it and let me know where I should be looking and what points you should get back.
You were right, I didn't respond at that time because I thought the grade was appropriate.
Anything else? I know you were going through anything that you wanted to
I think I hit all
address.
the topics. I mean, I'll save that conversation. But I mean, this university's been in the family for a while. My mom went out and got more degrees or whatever, but no, I just don't this is maybe one of those targeting things again, or I blame the other person, but feels like I'm being targeted for some things that the students are doing much worse things than I'm doing.
Okay. Well, basically we have two different areas that the committee will be discussing. So one of them is related to the dispositions that we started the conversation with, and the other one is related to the academic misconduct. I printed up for you our academic misconduct procedure chart. Basically, I considered this more an exploratory meeting. When we leave this meeting, I have some notes that we would like to touch base with Beth, because that's the person that we haven't touched base with, and we have her signature on a couple of things so we can gather all of our information. In the meantime, you're welcome to craft a written response to the academic misconduct if you want, and send that along for the committee to consider as we review what you've shared with us today, as well as the evidence that we have. I think it's important for you to understand that we have two different claims right now in front of us. You're saying that the multiple teachers signed and completed forms and are lying when they say that they did not sign something, and you're saying that they did. And they are saying that that you forged their signature on several documents. We probably will be obtaining statements from those professionals as well, so that the committee can consider all statements as we make a decision on how to move forward on the academic misconduct. You can see that if we do determine that there's no misconduct, then we just, we will submit, we will loop in the Office of the Dean of Students as university policy to let them know what's going on. We would let them know that it's resolved and there's no academic misconduct. If we determine that there is academic misconduct, we have kind of two routes, and they're laid out for you here that we can go through. And we would decide as a committee which route we're going to recommend. But I wanted you to be sure that you kind of knew what those series of options were for outcomes if we determine that there is academic misconduct. So if you would like to submit, if you did want to submit a written statement regarding what we discussed or your point of view, I saw you had some things written down, you're welcome to do that. If you would like to request a follow-up meeting with you having a representative with you, then you're welcome to do that as well. As I mentioned in our email, we would like to have a determination of how we want to move forward prior to the start of spring semester, just so that if there is an outcome where you're not continuing in the program, or maybe you're continuing for a master's degree but you're not getting licensed, then you're aware of what that outcome would be.
Okay. But I mean, I've done the hours, obviously. The teachers were there. You're just worried about the signatures. Am I getting that right?
Well, I wouldn't say, no.
The hours, Jenny Borchardt has retracted her signatures, Jean Verhagen has as well, because you added hours. So you are short on hours, and you do not have, and your evaluation form is questionable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.